Welcome to Fandom Power.
Well, the landscape at Marvel Comics has changed a lot since the company's near bankruptcy back in the 1990s. And today, while the sales of physical comic books continue to decline, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has become the highest-grossing film franchise of all time, having generated $22.59 billion US dollars at the global box office. And while the MCU's feature offerings have been a smorgasbord of yearly blockbusters, the Marvel television landscape has been, shall we say, a little less reliable. Partnerships with ABC Studios and Netflix promise shows claiming to be fully integrated with the larger framework of the MCU, but like a promise made during an election year, the actual results haven't exactly lived up to the hype. But then, on January 15th, 2021, Marvel Studios released WandaVision, the first Marvel television series set well and truly at the center of the MCU. And for 9 episodes that span the gamut from subversive to spectacular, viewers were treated to a superhero project like nothing else we've ever seen before. And as of this recording, WandaVision has been wrapped up now for 2 weeks, and today we're going to take a look back at the series and find out if it lived up to our expectations. All right, guys, episode 7.
Breaking the Fourth Wall.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's 38 minutes long, directed by Matt Shakeman, written by Cameron Squires. This one's more of a Modern Family-themed episode. Synopsis, again, I just stole the Disney one. Monica plots a return, Wanda navigates unsettling complications, and Vision forms a new alliance. This one first aired February 19th, 2021. And it kicks off with a Modern Family-style camera interview, and it becomes really clear really fast. Wanda knows now what she's done.
Yeah. This is the I'm taking a me day.
Yeah. So as it progresses, again, the comforter she's covered up in, more hexagons.
Oh, yeah.
And comes downstairs, and the world is starting to glitch harder.
Yeah, that's right.
The
now
kids are sitting there playing, I think, with a Wii remote, and it shocks back to an N64 controller.
Yeah.
And then eventually an Atari.
Yeah, I caught that too.
Mm-hmm. And then they're just playing Uno.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about.
Yeah. And as she's in the kitchen fixing her bowl of cereal, you hear the TV in the background going off. Thanks for tuning in to WNDA.
Oh, nice. Yeah, cool.
And kind of a Easter egg here to note at the same time, the cereal she's pouring is Sugar Snaps.
Sugar Snaps,
Sugar
yeah.
Snaps.
The snap.
So, the snap.
Yeah.
And Darcy, having been chained to the front of the vehicle
That's
in
right.
the previous episode,
Yeah.
and now inside the hex, turns out to be an escape artist with the circus.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I'm not great at this gig, I gotta be honest.
I love the change from the pop-up tents to
Circus tents.
It's a circus tents. Yeah.
I don't know if you two have ever seen it, but Wes, if you've ever seen, you remember Tent City
Oh my God, yes.
back in the day.
Of course.
Like, the military is a circus, and Tent City is a real thing. Very appropriate from our end of the
Yeah, for sure it is.
occupation.
The kids have some questions about what Uncle Pietro is saying, and Wanda tells them he's not your uncle.
Oh, she does do that
She
too,
does.
yeah.
She says he's not your uncle. Don't believe him. And they're like, what do we need answers? And she's like, I don't have answers right now.
I have no answers.
Yeah.
So she's kind of catching up with everything that's going on. She doesn't know
So
all the answers of what's...
is this
got her there.
is this a metaphor for processing?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because after that, she takes a Nexus pill.
Oh, right. Yeah,
She
yeah,
pops
yeah.
one. And at that point, Agnes pops in. She's like, yo, let's give your mom a me day.
Why don't we give your mom some me time?
I'll take them off your hands.
Right.
And Wanda agrees. They go off with her.
It also kind of harkens back to, if we're talking about the tropes of sitcoms, back in the day, mom and dad always had the answer. But in modern
I
sitcoms,
guess so,
there's
yeah.
a lot more, I don't know, let's figure it out. There's a lot more admission nowadays. Whereas back in the day, mom and dad had an answer. It might not have been right, it might have been skewed, but they always had an answer.
Right.
It's true.
And then we get another one of the Modern Family style interviews, and Wanda's questioning everything. And this time, somebody from behind the camera says, "Do you deserve it?"
Do you think maybe this is what you deserve?
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a director talking back.
Yeah, and
or
she's
a
like, "Wait,
producer
you're not
or
supposed to
something.
talk."
You're not supposed to talk.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
her false reality is fully broken.
Right.
Indicative of someone else taking over?
What do you mean?
At this point, we get a commercial for Nexus,
Oh, yeah.
pill to, help you with multiple mental issues. But there's
Side effects of feeling your feelings, confronting your truth.
Yeah.
And possibly even more depression.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, didn't mean to step
Funny
on
though.
you.
So this one, you say this is the Modern Family episode, right? So that we're in
Yeah.
the 2000s now.
This is, yeah.
Is that? I guess it's been a while now. Is it really in the 2000s where we started getting those like really crazy drug warnings on commercials? Do not take if you suffer from.
No, that was
Consult
a
your doctor.
90s thing.
Was
as
that a
well.
90s thing? Yeah.
But-
Okay. I wasn't sure.
But in terms of the show, like, there are only a couple of successful sitcoms in the last 20 years to choose from. So I figured it was either going to be a Big Bang Theory or a Modern Family or something like The Office.
Oh, okay.
and-
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
the
a lot
Big
of those
Bang
are
Theory is probably a little
documentary
too on the
style.
nose.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the Nexus itself
Modern
is,
Family was a good choice.
It was.
Sorry.
The Nexus.
The Nexus factor is pretty big into the comic end of it because Wanda and Vision are supposedly Nexus beings.
That's
Oh,
correct.
okay.
And further to the whole still having mutants on the table, Westview could be one of the Nexus points of reality.
Oh,
Which
yeah.
leads
The
us
nexus
down-
of all realities.
which
yeah.
leads us down the whole multiverse road and possible gateways to bringing other
Wow.
people in.
And in the Nexus storyline in the comics, John Byrne was in charge, and he started by making Wanda the villain of the arc, and then they wanted to change
Wow.
it, and he famously quit in the middle.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Famously quit in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Also kind of funny to have a drug commercial in the middle of a pandemic.
Mhm. Well, and it ties directly into how we modern ways of coping with PTSD or trauma, or and while they work for some people, it's just this sort of the common theme that doctors just want to throw drugs at the problem.
A lot
And so
of it
it's
is chemical.
Exactly, and so we've hit the modern version of dealing with our trauma now. And that's
One of
exactly
one of the hallmarks of post traumatic stress or chronic stress is the pulling back and self isolating. And so, like, isn't Westview like the grandest, way to self isolate, to tuck yourself away from the world?
Absolutely.
A literal bubble.
Yeah, quite literally.
So after we get back from the commercial break, again at Agnes's place, we see the bunny, which is the throwback to the magic show,
Yep.
and we get a name on him, is Senor Scratchy.
Senor Scratchy.
Now this could be a comic reference to Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch.
Oh,
Could be.
It's
okay.
also the scratch is common reference in literature to the devil.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say a money reference.
No, it's like it's a devil reference. Yeah, I think
Okay.
in is it Roadhouse Blues with friggin' Ralph Macchio? He makes the
Oh, Crossroads.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
He makes the devil the devil is Mr. Scratch or something in that.
Yeah.
I immediately hit on like a record scratch, like an interruption.
Oh,
Yeah.
Scratch.
Multi-tiered.
Yep. And the kids pick up now. Agnes, I like it here. You're quiet on the inside.
That's right.
Again saying something's not right with her.
I actually did bite a kid once.
Yeah.
Now we skip to outside the bubble, and this is where the other reality rewrite occurs. because they pull out this big space rover vehicle
Oh,
that
yes.
they think can go and push through. So Monica hops in and guns it towards the barrier. It doesn't do it. It starts climbing.
Yeah.
And eventually the Hex starts eating it.
That's right.
Monica bails out and the Hex repels this thing.
Yeah.
And when it lands on the ground, the front half has been rewritten to
Yeah, to like some
like
period truck
a
or
van
something.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
So rewritten and existing outside of the Hex.
Can we just stop for a second and talk about that? Because in the Halloween episode, I probably should have talked about that a little bit more. There was that big setup about, oh, my guy's almost here. We're going to go meet him. And then we get there and your guy, it's the government. That whole missed opportunity thing there. Like, again,
Another dropped thread.
going back to the Reed Richards thing, I thought, within the and as you say, Hank, maybe that's not a drop thing. Maybe it's a slow burn, long play. But in the course of the show, you played with our heartstrings on that one twice over, and you didn't pay it off. So, missed
I think
opportunity.
They were intending to pay it off, and then COVID got in the way.
We don't even need to see.
Certainly seems to be. I'll send the link to that the video of the interview I saw.
Don't even need to see Mr. Fantastic. Just Dr. Richards, as himself is enough to make you go, oh, it's real.
Yeah. Like I
And
said,
then
they'll probably save.
Yeah.
If you look at the reveals that were in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or any of the other TV
Yeah.
there was nothing big.
No, not really.
The
biggest for me, now I checked out after season 1. So the biggest thing for me was the whole Tahiti thing. And I'm like, oh, Tahiti. Yeah. We brought
a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And making the character an Inhuman, I thought that we're going to go somewhere better with that. But
well, that was just because if we make them Inhumans, then
it's another way
Sony
to
can't
say
use
mutant.
them.
It's the only way for us to use there was a talk about, those TV projects, and I don't mean the Inhumans television show itself, but were the Inhumans the Marvel Studios, answer to mutants before the purchase of the company, right?
No, much like the way that the Chitauri were supposed to be the Skrulls before they actually wrested the rights to the Skrulls.
Right.
From
it's almost like
Fox
a racial
back
slur
from Fox,
way of saying mutant.
Yeah, more or less.
Inhuman.
Yeah, mutie.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry, Andy, we kind of went off the rails for a minute.
Yeah, so the vehicle gets heave-hoved, and
yeah.
Monica looks at it, though, and says, no, I can make it.
Yeah,
and
she does.
She, at this point, pushes through.
And they're yelling at her, no, don't do it, don't do it.
Because she's been through that barrier twice already.
Yeah, she's already been warned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Monica, no!
This is her third time through.
We don't know what it's going to do to you. Don't do it.
And as she's pushing through, we get a whole slew of voices from her mom and Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And she makes it through.
You think if she'd had her helmet on and intact, that she'd have gone through with no further cellular changes?
I don't think so.
You think it would have affected her anyway?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
And she comes out of it with her very blue eyes.
Yeah, blue, sometimes
Spectrum
yellow.
vision.
So, yeah, that's more where I was going with it, yeah.
So also inside the bubble now, we cut back to Vision and Darcy, who have left the circus.
Yeah.
But
he wakes her up right away.
He does. Because she's fully into her escape artist act and is like, whatever, we got a show to do.
Yeah.
But pulls her out pretty quickly, and they escape in, like a treat truck
it's like
or
an
something.
ice cream van.
Yeah, ice cream truck. That's a great analogy.
But as they're trying to get back, everything that can be is getting thrown in their path. Red lights, road crews.
Was there line painting or something?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Very cartoon-like.
Yeah.
I love how they cut to one of those interviews with Vision, and then he just goes, "Wait, why am I talking to you?"
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he becomes self-aware.
What makes that joke in the van work even more is that they don't try to, like, you or I would just fuck this and just drive the van around them, but they don't. They actually, we'll wait.
Yeah.
Which gives them the time to have that
the
exposition
conversation
piece.
where Darcy kind of fills him in on pre-Westview.
So I'm a dead Avenger. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, so maybe I went a little too dark there.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah. In this time, Monica has finally made it to Wanda.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit of a conversation back and forth, and She's like, don't let Hayward make you the villain.
Right.
And Wanda ponders, what if I'm already the villain?
She does do that. But good on Monica, though, because in an earlier episode, she's imploring Hayward, listen, if she's the problem, then she's got to be the solution. Yeah.
Well, all three of our B-plot heroes are kind of pushing the message like, she's probably involved, but she may or may not be at fault. Like, Jimmy defends her when he's like, when Hayward puts the negative spin on everything that's happened. And he's like, well, that's not how I would say it, but that's factually true, I suppose.
Yeah.
Darcy is continuously arguing in her favor, and Monica does the same. So all three of them are doing their hero duty.
Right.
Outside of the hex.
No, that's totally true.
And again, at this point, another, could go either way moment, Agnes shows up and removes Wanda from the stressful situation.
Yeah.
Abso-positively.
So they go off to Agnes's house, and Wanda asks, where's the twins? Like, where's my kids?
Yeah.
And she says, oh, they're probably playing in the basement.
Yeah.
So that is an allusion to, in the comics, there were times where her children would just stop existing because she wasn't focusing on, like, maintaining them.
Yeah, they didn't exist when she wasn't in the room, ostensibly, in the comics.
Yeah.
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 They were a literal plot device.
Yeah,
that's right.
Off camera, they just don't exist.
Yeah. So Wanda makes her way down in the basement, and everything is changing. You see the purple tones, the darkness, strange markings on the wall, which we later find out to be runes.
Yep.
And a strange book there.
Yeah. Did they name drop it in this one?
We don't name drop it in this one.
Okay, it's
but
coming.
We do find out what it is later.
Yeah.
I knew what it was the second I saw it. I was so happy to see it.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what it was when I saw it, and I was like, there's no way they're doing this.
So is this the book that Caecilius stole from the library?
No, that's the Book of Cagliostro. That's a completely different book.
Is it?
That's the Book of Cagliostro, a study of time.
Okay, I wasn't sure on that because there was some discussion of whether or not this was
the missing
book from the library. Yeah.
There are a couple of famous evil books. The Book of Cagliostro was one of them. And this one, of course, turns out to be the Darkhold, which is basically like if the Necronomicon and a Nazi made a baby that was then aborted and turned into a demon, that would be the Darkhold.
That's an interesting way of putting it. Okay. Evil book.
It's the evil of all evils.
Yeah, it's the MCU Necronomicon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I was so happy when I saw it. I was like, no way they're using that here.
What do we think of Agnes's house as being a lair?
Well, certainly leans to it.
Yeah.
What does that say about Westview?
That
well,
underneath
here's
the
thing.
surface,
Did
something's
she
not
live
right.
in Westview?
Well,
or did she invade the Hex?
Well, this is it. Like, I don't get it, but like clearly, unless Agnes's house / lair exists as an interdimensional space within an interdimensional space, that lair had to have always been there. You know what I mean? And they built a house around it.
Well, I think with the transition of house to cave filled with vines...
Well, this is it, yeah.
...sort of indicates that you're crossing a threshold of some kind.
Did we, like, traveling downstairs, did we go to physically go to someplace else?
Quite possibly.
Or are we still underneath the house in Westview?
It's got a very TARDIS kind of feel to it.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
It's bigger on the inside.
So as Wanda is standing in the middle of this room, though, we get the big reveal.
Yeah.
That indeed she is Agatha Harkness.
Yeah.
Lovely to finally meet you, dear.
And then we
get that bopping song.
Yeah.
We do. We get a whole Agatha
I love it.
And it's in the vein of the Munsters.
I love it. That to me, that was like, of all of the old-timey black and white shows, of the two, of the Munsters and the Addams Family, the Munsters has continuously been my go-to. I love it. Yeah, so when you saw like that, the title card, which looks like the melting wax, yes, it was perfect.
I also think that this is Subversion drink.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think it's Agatha all along.
Well,
I still think, as I said,
but I also think that might have been one of those dropped plates.
Yeah. It's very true.
I'll say it again. Someone is pulling her strings.
Yes, and then exactly. And now it might be even the fact that she thinks, like, because meta is now a theme. Like, we got to admit
That's right.
that's
She thinks that she's in control.
She might think she's in control. She says at one point, and I can't remember what episode it is, you were puppeting them. I just cut their strings.
That's
it might
right.
Be the
Yeah.
very last episode with Dawe, actually, now that I think of it.
I feel like that was on some level.
So she sort of references is that, like, she might just be gloating in this moment. She's got the power in this situation.
I remember when she said that.
More misdirection.
The first time around when she said that, and I remember watching it, and I remember going, Ultron reference, the Pinocchio, no strings on me.
Correct.
But then it's like, well, somebody's.
Tangled.
Yeah. It's totally deeper.
I'm a little upset we didn't get to hear more James Spader in this whole. I love that man.
Another reason to watch The Office, then.
Yeah.
So, as our credits roll, we get treated to our first cutscene.
Yep.
And we see Monica trying to get into Agnes's house.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Only to be stopped by fake Pietro.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, Snooper's gonna snoop.
Snooper's gonna snoop.
And he pecks her, and her eyes go purple. And then we carry on.
Yeah.
So that kind of alludes to his origins.
Well, he's a puppet, ostensibly. But, I mean, again, the question begs, is he under Agatha's direct control? Sure, but again,
is she under someone else?
Yeah, well.
I mean, the other thing, the fact that there's a post-credits or mid or post or whatever.
Yeah.
That kind of indicates that the sitcom thing is over. Because for the next 2 episodes, it's all just MCU all the way.
Yeah, pretty much. Yep.
So, like, you thought we were going to stick to the sitcom thing? No, that's over now, dog.
Yeah, now, I mean, all of that sort of come tumbling down, and the illusion, as it were, which we've already decided was not an illusion, has now crumbled. And things are starting to get
maybe not
laid.
the illusion, but the pretense.
Right, and now things are starting to get laid bare.
It's like, let's cut the crap and just talk about what we're actually talking about.
Yeah.
And I killed Sparky, too.
Not a whole lot of exposition, sort of, between the two of them
No.
on this one about, the whole witch thing. But I remember watching this on the first time around thinking, hell have no wrath like a mama bear. Right, and now you've taken the children, and you're basically hostaging the children. I thought, oh my God, woman, look out, because you're in for it.
Yeah,
that's right.
I just want to mention before we do any moving on that song was #1 on the charts for like a couple of weeks after that episode.
Yeah,
I think it's still in the top 10. Like that song bops, and people started downloading it.
Yeah.
So a few Easter eggs out of this episode.
Yeah, let's hit it.
The kids' clothes in the opening scenes, their color scheme matches their
yes,
comic book
yeah, it really,
costumes.
yeah, I caught too. I thought that was pretty cool.
In the opening credits, where we keep flashing to the name Wanda,
yeah,
that is a nod to the show Happy Endings, which is relevant because the Russo brothers were executive producers and directors on it.
Oh, nice.
And Matt Shackman also did some directing there too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
One of the ones that flashes up, I didn't catch this one, someone online did, but the license plate that pops up with Wanda,
yeah,
the number that appears on it is 122822. Or it could be December 28th, 1922, Stan Lee's birthday.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh.
Never got that, but that's super cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm sad.
Yeah, well, how do you have a Stan Lee cameo without Stan Lee? That's a good way to do it.
That's a really good
That
way.
is a good... Oh, sorry. Further to that, there's talk that Ryan Reynolds is going to start doing it instead as Deadpool.
Really?
There's talk that Deadpool is going to be the Stan Lee
interesting.
cameo.
Have you heard this? Is it a fan theory or some speculation that he was supposed to be, had he been alive, he would have played Old Cap, and that all of his appearances in the whole saga were Cap in the past? Have you heard that?
No, I
Wouldn't
haven't.
that be amazing?
That
Like,
yeah, absolutely
simply amazing.
Yeah.
I think that's what I heard. Wouldn't that have just brought it all home?
In a
Him
way,
playing Old Cap?
that's an interesting one though, because I actually really, visually speaking, my favorite one is probably Oh my God, it would be the library scene in Amazing Spider-Man where he and the Lizard are smashing the crap out of the library and he's got the headphones on. But in terms of MCU continuity, my favorite one is probably, is it Ragnarok?
Where he's got
he's sitting there
crazy
talking.
clippers.
Ragnarok
Talking to the Watchers?
Yes, so he's sitting there
That's
talking to the
Guardians.
Watchers, right? So Guardians. He's sitting there talking to the Watchers and he's like, and then I was a this, and then is Stan Lee a Watcher? To me, that is perfect.
Where are you going? I got more stories.
Yeah.
I think my favorite, while we're on this tangent, my favorite one was Captain Marvel, because he's sitting there, he's reading the script for Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Smith went crazy saying that he was canon MCU now.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Did you guys catch in the intro scene that, they show the calendar that from the very first episode you talked about, Wes?
August 23rd.
It's on the 10th in the intro scene.
Oh, I
August
missed
10th.
that.
The date has changed. I don't know if there's any significance to that at all.
So now we're looking
Probably
at
just retconning.
0810, so 810 would be the number, or 108. 108. Oh.
I believe that the Marvel 810 universe has some significance, but I'm not.
Oh my God!
I'd have to look it up.
You want to talk about getting bogged down in stuff?
Here we go.
The MCU.
Marvel 810 universe.
You're going to get a couple of things for the MCU. There was talk about the address of the house, the 2800 address, that might have been a reference to the universe that the show takes place in, because in the comic books, Wanda and Vision's address is 616, which of course is the main continuity Marvel universe.
So is Mysterio lying when he tells us or
that
tells Mysterio that this is
the 616? Yeah.
Is 810 the universe he's from?
Something like that, maybe. But when you look,
Marvel Universe 810 has no significance. 818 is the closest one.
When you look up what is the numerical value for the MCU universe, it's like a bunch of nines. It's like 9199999. It's a crazy number, which it just was too much for me to try to figure it out.
My favorite thing about that all is they made the universe that we live in, where Marvel Comics exists as a property.
Sure.
Universe one.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. Did you guys catch the circus? The lady riding the unicycle looked like Dark Phoenix.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of bit.
Yeah.
A lot of bit.
Oh, hang on. Earth TRN 810 is a reality split from the MCU by a group of Chronicoms in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That was one of the later seasons.
The closest thing I could come up with.
Internal reference.
Yeah. The closest thing I could come up with was the 2800 still could be a reference to a universe, and that's sort of that, that Westview inside the anomaly exists on a different plane of existence that is its own unique space.
Yeah, maybe the hex itself.
True.
Yeah, it could be. Sorry,
Cool.
Andy, we totally stole it from me again.
Only a couple more here.
Sure.
The possible Everbloom plant is seen again in this episode. A couple more here on the TV when they're watching that. They're currently watching Yo Gabba Gabba, which is
Gabba.
relevant to the time period.
Yeah.
And again, when Agnes shows up to help Wanda out or pull her out of a situation,
right,
the delivery guy shows up, but it's the Presto delivery company.
Yeah.
Oh.
Another magic word.
Word, yeah.
So
and in the stylized Amazon logo. So they keep updating who a mailman
that's true.
is.
That's so true. Yeah.
Little subtle things like that, right?
Do you think the delivery guy is Ralph?
No.
Or is Ralph Boner Ralph?
Ralph is Ralph, yeah.
I think that's...
Yeah, I pretty much settled on that.
Yeah, so that's all I have for that episode.
This one I thought was great. It really, like you said, Eric, we're about to hit, these next two episodes, which are straight up sort of MCU-ish episodes where there's no disillusionment to what's happening now. All the cards are on the table, and now we're gonna see it play out. And I guess that takes us right up to episode number 8.
Last two episodes could be a movie, a cinematic.
Yeah, they really could.
Yeah. Episode 8, Previously On, directed by Matt Shakeman still, written. There's like 13 writing credits here, but
Oh,
the
wow.
top two are Laura Donnie and Zach Schaefer, or Jack Schaefer.
Jack,
rather.
yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So, in the same vein as my previous one, this is Agatha takes us on a trip down memory lane to explain why all of these references are relevant. So, this is the second, like, specifically MCU style MCU episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
The first being episode 4. And really, this is just a walk down memory lane to explain some of the traumas in Wanda's life, to show us, some backstory of a little bit more of why she and Vision are a thing, more than just, is that paprikash?
Yeah.
Gives us a little bit of depth on that. Shows us the scene that has been talked about multiple times about her parents and the bomb. We get to see, how the interaction with the Mind Stone actually worked for her. We end up in sort of the run up to the climax, where it's like, this is my evil plan.
Yep.
This is why what's happening is happening, and we get a little bit of exposition on. We had a whole movie about quote unquote magic in. They touched on it in Thor and those various movies, and then it really, when Doctor Strange came out, we got this one particular view of magic, of how that particular sect of sorcerers used it.
Yep.
What's interesting to me is that what's revealed in this episode sort of implies that, similar to D&D, some people are born with magic and some people have to learn it.
Yeah.
Because it's implied that Wanda was a little baby witch who got her powers woken up by the Mind Stone.
Oh, it's not even implied. I would say it goes a step
it's
further.
directly-
I would say it goes a step further in, and I went back and I cued the scene where Quicksilver and Wanda are speaking to Ultron, and they are talking about the bomb. And they say, and we waited for 3 days for Tony Stark to kill us. And that's contrasted against this episode where no, Wanda kept the bomb from going off for 3 days.
Yeah, little baby witch powers.
Yeah, I mean, she
changed the probability from a 1 to a 0.
So suddenly it changes her origin. You want to talk retcon? She's no longer an Infinity Stone powered being. She had powers all along.
Which goes back to the mutant
She
thing.
had powers all along.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really the first thing. We come in, we start the episode in the dungeon with
the lair.
Actually, even before that, the Marvel logo comes up and it's purple, dude.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, because this is the Agnes, the Agatha episode, right? So
which basically is like Agatha's in control on.
Yeah, that's a nice little nice little visual cue for us.
We get Agatha's backstory of she's a young witch who is being tried by her own coven in the time of the Salem witch trials, which is an interesting twist on what is expected of that particular time period.
But again, it's, take a drink from your troposphere, but it plays into that trope where, we've seen it before, where you have a magic using society and you have that person on the fringe who is like, you are being ostracized for using the dark magics that we don't touch.
You practice the darkest of magic.
You broke our rules.
Yeah.
No, I didn't.
They simply bent to my power.
Right.
So this also ages Agatha Harkness.
Does it ever?
In the comic reality, this is exactly
withered
what you
and
get.
old, yeah.
Right, but she's ostensibly 400 or 500 years old.
Yeah.
And it's not as directly. They don't sort of situate the. Or do they? Do they reference the time? Is it the 1600s?
If we're to believe,
stamp on the scene.
I mean, it's pretty on the nose that you get a witch at the stake and you're about to burn her. Your mind automatically goes to the witch trial. So if we frame them within that 1600 what did we say it was?
1680?
1620, 1680?
Well, maybe,
1693.
There you go.
They
So
are.
if we
They
place it in that sort of framework.
Yeah, she's a good 350.
And I mean, the period close match, like it's very,
Oh, yeah.
very on point.
Absolutely.
So we have that scene with the Salem witch trials. Her coven tries to kill her. She absorbs all their magic, ostensibly extending her own lifetime by their life force, which is how she's lived through all this time. All the background magic crap that you would infer on your own from reading any kind of fantasy novel ever, that's what is assumed here.
For the record, Catherine Hahn is 47 years old.
Nice.
So from there, we go back to the lair. We get a little bit of exposition from Agatha and Wanda. Only a witch who casts the runes can use their magic.
That's a thing from real practicing witches.
Yeah.
Too.
Pay attention to that one, boys and girls.
Yeah, that comes up later. That's a big old Chekhov's gun right there.
Yeah.
Then she says, "Why don't we take a walk?" And she opens the door, and through the door is the Maximov family apartment in Sokovia.
Yep.
Which lends itself to that whole lair being like interdimensional possibilities.
It does, doesn't it, though?
Yeah.
Or the place being a whole nexus of realities.
Maybe, yeah.
Nexus, yeah.
The 2800 reference. Well, that's Wanda's house, so never mind. Forget what I was about to say.
All through the sort of second generation, third or second and third waves of the MCU movies.
Yeah.
Time travel and dimensional travel and space travel is all done through hex portals. They're almost always hex portals, hexagon-shaped portals.
Right.
All through the Guardians movies and the sort of the cosmic.
Oh yeah, geez.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh. So this apartment scene.
Guess I'm
shows
watching
us
Guardians today.
I know that.
Sorry, the apartment. Yep.
The apartment scene shows us where her love of sitcoms comes from. Her father used to sell DVDs for the family to provide for his family.
Hey man, as somebody, I actually really dug that because as somebody who's been to Western Europe, where the bootleg CD and bootleg DVD industry was a real viable business option, I really dug that. It reminded me of being in Bosnia.
Is this Easter egg territory? Did you hone in on the titles of the DVDs?
I did. So it was all of the shows that our sitcom episodes were based on.
Yeah.
It was really well done.
Yep. So, of course, Wanda's favorite is Dick Van Dyke, and that's why that's the first episode of WandaVision. So from here, we see, after we've dealt with all this origins of magic and all that stuff.
So what I see here is a baby witch obsessed with sitcoms.
We see the bomb that is constantly alluded to, the scene where, we waited under a bed for 3 days for Tony Stark to kill us.
Yeah.
And we see them under the bed. We see the bomb in the apartment. And it's revealed to us that Wanda hexed the bomb to not go off.
Right.
So in reality, they were staring at a dud for 3 days. But the scene has some allusions to the beginning of Iron Man, where Tony Stark sees a Stark weapon come down right in front of him, and it causes his origin story. Well, the same thing happened to the Maximovs. So, and we see the blinking light, and everyone who has watched the full series remembers the toaster.
That's right, yeah.
We hear the sound. This is the one that sort of shows everything up. Like, we've built Frankenstein's monster now, and we're getting ready to
kick off. Yeah. Do you guys know, do you remember, Eric, you might not, it may be too early for you, but for Hank and Andy, do you remember Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories?
Yes.
I do. I really do.
So I got a real sense of like the intensity that Wanda is like staring down the bomb is less of a fear thing, and it's more of a like willing it to happen, like willing it to not go off. Keep in mind, Steven Spielberg's Amazing Stories was a vignette-style series of weird stuff happening. So very much like this episode, how it's multiple vignettes of like, oh, this is what happened here, and this is what happened here. But there's one vignette in particular, a World War II bomber crew, that lose their landing gear and they cannot land. And to make matters worse, they've got a man trapped in the belly gun, and he can't get out. the hatches, like the mechanism
vaguely
is
remember
screwed up.
that.
But he was a cartoonist, and so he drew this cartoon of the bomber, and he drew in like candy cane legs for landing gear and donuts for wheels. And he just stared down the drawing, and by the end of the episode, the candy cane legs and donut wheels manifested on the actual aircraft. They were successfully able to land and get him out of the belly gun. And once they kind of snapped him out of it, and they disappeared, and the plane crashed on the ground. But I just thought it was very evocative of that vignette where he was like force of will. Urgh.
Very cool. Nice grab.
Yeah, sorry.
Oof.
Not to sorry, didn't mean to.
No, that's got some undertones of Wanda's will and the hex.
Yeah.
That you're really touching on hard right now.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So from here we go to Sokovia again. They're a little older now, and we see good old Baron von Strucker, and we're introduced to the test chamber where Loki's staff is being kept. And we get a little bit of exposition from the scientists. Nobody's ever survived.
Not one subject has survived.
Do we actually see someone get kind of nuked by it in this episode?
I think they only say, like, nobody's ever survived contact.
No, okay, fair
with it.
enough.
And then Wanda walks in her sort of Carrie at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Tattered
nightgown.
Clothes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we see the Mind Stone comes to her.
Oh, yeah.
Weirdly. And there's a whole revelatory flash of power. And this is where we see that silhouette of a woman in a dress, or perhaps a long coat, with the two little, you can just barely see the two little spikes of the crown sticking out up from her hair. And this is,
Let's just call her Wanda Chantress.
the mysterious witch-like figure.
Yeah.
Surrounded in a halo of yellow light. In my opinion, that's the light of the Mind Stone. That's why I thought that this was either future Wanda interfering in the past, or like a previous Scarlet Witch passing their power on through the Mind Stone.
Oh yeah, like a passing of the torch moment.
Because if the Scarlet Witch could either be a title,
Yep.
or it could be just the individual, like Wanda is foretold of as the Scarlet Witch.
Right.
So it could be either or. Still not 100% on which one of those it is. But we see this manifestation of this angelic witch figure, and then she collapses on the ground and nothing ever moved. The staff is right back where it was, and apparently all that happened was she walked in and collapsed.
Well, reality warping.
Mm-hmm.
So
all this closed circuit TV footage is gone.
Yeah.
A little bit of back and forth between Wanda and Agatha. And really, this is where it sort of becomes evident that, yeah, she was something before, and then she really became something once the power of the Mind Stone touched her.
Where'd you get the big guns, Wanda?
And,
Oh yeah. Like
Agatha,
a supercharging.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, the sorcerers, they learn their magic.
Yeah.
Agatha was born with magic but had to learn to control it. And Wanda, she just does. She's like the Joker. I just do things.
Well, she said it. She said, I
don't cast spells.
She says, I can't remember if she uses the word steal or I take gifts from those who don't deserve them.
That's what Agatha.
Says. Yeah.
That's what Agatha says.
Yeah.
But the Scarlet Witch at some point says, I don't cast spells. This isn't magic.
No, she's just, I've always just done it.
I didn't do anything.
And this is where you start to realize, oh no, you're using magic. You just do it naturally.
Yeah, she's operating on a different level.
Magic on autopilot.
Yeah, this is the sorcerer to D&D's wizard.
Yeah, of course.
Some people learn magic, and some people are just born that way.
Yep.
Maybe she's born with it.
And if she
maybe it's Maybelline.
Mage, you're soaking in it.
Da-dum-dum.
I mean, if she was using her abilities to keep the bomb at bay,
right?
It doesn't track for comic continuity mutant powers, which manifest at puberty.
Yeah.
Right. She's 10 years old there. She's too young for that. So
yeah,
I thought it was puberty or stressful.
Or stressful situations.
Or stress, yeah.
That's true. That would be very stressful, I would imagine.
They manifested X-23's powers through stress.
That's right.
Yeah, and she was a lot younger in the film. The film version of X-23 anyway.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So next up, I'm guessing Agatha assumes we saw Age of Ultron because she doesn't bother with any of that. We go straight to post Age of Ultron, and this is where we get the look at Wanda and Vision's kind of beginnings of their relationship.
In Germany.
Vision walks in on her.
Oh, right.
Mourning the loss of her brother at the Avengers
the compound, yeah.
Yeah. And this is where we get that great... Interestingly, they're watching an episode of Malcolm in the Middle, which is hilarious. And this is where we get that great line from Vision, what is grief if not love persevering?
Yeah.
Which kicked off
super touching.
Some kind of grand controversy online. I don't know why. I think that's just a beautiful way of putting it. Like, grief and grief management and pain and stress management is such a prevalent thing in our society today that to even try and sum it up with a pithy one-liner is pretty brave in and of itself. But to successfully do it,
and so eloquently, you don't grieve for that which you do not love.
Exactly.
It's pretty universal. I mean, how many people have we lost in our lives that were just a name on a piece of paper, or you know what I mean? But I mean, you take it to something more personal, and then you start analyzing your own connections to it. And yeah, it's what he said is completely true.
But what is grief, if not love persevering?
Yeah, I really love it that the whole philosopher thing that Vision is pushing, and has pushed it, admittedly, throughout his whole presence. But that line particularly had a lot.
That whole warrior poet thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Agatha says, no, we don't have time for this.
Tell me how you did it.
Let's get to the good stuff.
Yeah.
So the next sequence is immediately following the blip where Wanda comes up on Sword. So what this got me realizing is that in Endgame, at the very end, on your left, Wanda comes to the fight with Thanos having just woken up in Wakanda with Vision's body missing.
Is it though?
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, because they haven't been rewound yet. Thanos hasn't done the rewind.
No,
That's right.
When she wakes up after the blip, it'd be
after
5
the blip.
years.
Yeah,
They would have come in,
5
taken
years.
the body, and
yeah, I had a hard time sort of rationalizing where's the body, but yeah, you like, oh well, there's a 5-year gap there. Oh, of course,
a 5-year gap where the king is missing,
because that tells us that Sword has been to Wakanda.
So I want to touch on that because this is where
Vision's body has left Wakanda. Yeah,
I got a little bit perturbed at that, only because the continuity as laid out in the Black Panther went way out of the way to tell us about how advanced a society that the Wakandans really were and how idyllic that their way of life had become. So I find it hard to believe that there was a violation of Wakandan sovereignty to go and get the body, that somebody in Wakanda, whether it's Shuri or somebody else related to the tribes, would not have dealt with Vision's body in a respectful way.
Well, there is one small thing about that, because if you recall, at the end of Black Panther, Chadwick Boseman is about to be giving a speech where he reveals Wakanda to the world.
I know he does that, but that doesn't change the terms of their sovereignty as a sovereign nation.
It indicates that they are now operating on a global scale.
Of course it does.
New treaties, new agreements, and it barely opens the door, but it does open the door just far enough.
So does that mean that we're to believe
Vision's body could be a political thing?
Are we to believe that Wakanda is now a signatory to the Sokovia Accords?
The Accords, yes. The politics, not the reality.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Their sovereign disappeared for 5 years after revealing that they were the most powerful like technologically advanced culture on the planet. Then he disappears for 5 years.
No, I just think for everything that they did for Bucky Barnes, you know, essentially harboring a fugitive, that they would have just said, okay, you can have the body, but not him. Do you know what I mean? Like there's an inconsistency there that just doesn't sit right with me.
And when you think of it too, he's made of how much vibranium?
Yeah.
So that's something they're pretty sticky on.
Right. And I mean, the world's largest source. Now, does the MCU make it the world's only source or the largest source? Because the meteor strikes Wakanda.
I think it's the only source because Ulysses Klaue is said to be the only person to have visited Wakanda and escaped with vibranium.
So if anybody has a claim to the Vision's body, it's the Wakandans.
Yeah.
There's in the comic continuity, vibranium also exists in the Savage Land.
Oh, Savage Land. Yeah, okay.
Oh, I can't wait till they MCU the Savage Land. Oh, I want a Jurassic Park Avengers movie.
Yeah, I want a full-length Khazar movie.
Yeah, really.
So yeah, that was. Now to get back to the actual episode.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw that off.
No. This is all relevant stuff.
Yeah.
And stuff that I wanted to touch on. But Wanda shows up at Sword headquarters to try and claim the Vision's body, which means that in the 3 weeks between defeating Thanos and WandaVision started, she has had to go through the thing of, okay, where is his body? What happened? Sword? Okay, where are they? And actually show up.
Yeah.
We've seen a little bit of this scene from when Hayward showed the footage.
Yeah.
But now we get, the front and the back end of that, we get the prologue and the epilogue to that scene where, Wanda did burst into the lab, but she left the body there.
Yeah, because
Whereas
Hayward,
that she took it.
Yeah, so I mean that puts Hayward back into that sleazy Thunderbolt Ross category.
Yeah. Yep. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm definitely... Well, no, he does lie to them because he says she took him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she drives from Sword to Westview, New Jersey, and the property deed is revealed for
the piece of property, yeah.
Or 2800 or 2801, whatever the address
whatever the street name was, I don't remember.
With a little heart drawn on it.
Yeah.
Grow old in.
Yeah.
From V. So it's revealed why Westview.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then we watch the birth of the Hex because she, in her grief, unleashes
yeah, totally right in the moment.
Her power.
Yeah.
So.
Which takes us back to forget the past, control the future, or write the future. Yeah.
Right.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah. So at this point, Wanda hears the boys, and she finds a way to escape from Agatha's whatever it is she's doing to go down memory lane.
That's right.
And she comes upon Agatha, who's now in her full, like, flowy purple witchy robes.
Yeah.
Choking the kids with magic. And she does her little monologue of, exposition where she's figured out that Wanda is the incarnation of a mythical figure.
Yeah.
The Scarlet Witch.
There's a whole chapter in the Darkhold.
Yeah.
That makes you the Scarlet Witch.
A being capable of spontaneous creation, and here you are using it to make breakfast for dinner. Which is interesting, because it implies that most magic cannot spontaneously create. Which sort of tracks, because I don't know if Doctor Strange... Well, no, Doctor Strange does spontaneously create when he refills Thor's beer stein.
That's right, yeah.
But
even
that
in the
could
comics,
be a summoning.
In the comics, Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch are two of the only characters to be able to wield chaos magic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like innate casting.
You think there's some brewery out there that goes to tap a keg and they're sorely disappointed and they find out that it's empty because Stephen Strange has been filling Thor's mug.
Transmuting. Yeah.
Where's the beer?
And this is where the end of the episode comes. That makes you the Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And cut to credits.
Yeah. The first full on, like, okay, it's for real now. You are the Scarlet Witch.
And then we get a mid-credits sequence with a very major reveal that well, if Wanda didn't take the body, where is it?
Right.
And this is where we get our first glimpse of the White Vision.
Yeah.
As he is powered on with the remnants of Wanda's hex power that was on the drone.
The drone.
That got sent in.
Right.
So, very, this one was, again, the 2 episodes that I got, luckily enough, it's very much, straightforward exposition. We're going to lead you down a path, and you're going to understand a lot of the stuff that you didn't in the previous episodes.
Agatha's version of This Is Your Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This one ranks up there with, 3, where we get the, they're watching the show from outside of the Hex. These 2 episodes kind of parallel for me, in terms of 4. Yeah, 4. Sorry. Those 2 episodes are ooh, they're the ones that made me, I guess giddy is the best word. The ones that made me giggle, yeah, cool, right? In that total nerd moment, oh, this is what's really going on.
They're pulling the curtain just
a little
bit.
Exactly. Pulling back, piercing the veil.
Breaking that fourth wall.
So, as far as Easter eggs go in here, the purple MCU logo is considered an Easter egg.
Sure.
There's the reference to the Salem witch trials, which gets flipped on its head.
Oh, yeah.
Because, it's witches trying another witch. The Stark Industries bomb, and the allusion to Iron Man being the start of the MCU.
Yeah.
Honestly, most of the Easter eggs in this episode they're hardly Easter eggs. They're almost just plot points.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing, as I watch these episodes and you talk about Easter eggs and what is an Easter egg. And traditionally I used to think, I say used to because I think our perceptions of what they are have changed. Used to be something that was buried in there that only the keenest,
only the true believers,
would find. I think we're a little more loose with our interpretation of what an Easter egg is now, especially when you look at how big the Marvel Universe is and what they can tie it to, whether it's their own comic books, the real world, and all these other pop culture references that are creeping up, right? Easter egg can be something that simple, right?
Did you catch the Dick Van Dyke episode that the Wanda and her parents are watching?
It's actually the wrong episode.
Is it
the Walnut episode?
She asks for 21, and the episode that plays is 20.
It is 20, not the Walnut episode.
Okay.
Oh, I looked up the Walnut episode.
Is there something significant about that episode that ties to the show, though?
In it, Dick Van Dyke, his character wants to stay up late and watch a scary movie while his wife doesn't want to watch it, so she's trying to ignore the fact because it freaks her out. But the movie is about aliens who come to Earth. They're called the Twilo. That's where Lucas got it.
Yeah.
And they feed us walnuts that contain the chemical element absorbitron. And the walnuts take away our creativity and our thumbs.
Oh.
The 2 things that get us into outer space in the future. So the next day, the main character, Dick Van Dyke, finds nothing but walnuts around the house to eat. And he's not sure if his wife is trying to trick him.
Right.
For forcing her to watch the movie, or if the Twilightians have
actually invaded.
That has some significance.
Well, the whole free thought thing.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe it is a different episode.
I'm just having an existential crisis imagining what the world would be like if we all lost our
thumbs. Nobody had thumbs.
Yeah. Probably the biggest plot hole in the whole of the MCU, I'll have to say, is that Wanda's dad is selling Malcolm in the Middle DVD box sets in 1999.
Yeah.
When the show didn't air till 2000.
That is true.
There's a lot of continuity errors, but
there was a piece though in Assembled where they talked about that, and they said, we knew that going into it, but it's one of those things that they decided that they could overlook it because it was more important to the development of the show. Yeah.
So that's about it for 8.
All right, I guess that brings us to
we've come a long way.
The finale.
Here you are.
Episode 9, the series finale. This one I actually, in my notes, I actually wrote, this is the MCU episode. No sitcom references here. This one's released Friday, March 5th, 2021. So if you're listening to this as of this recording, we're still in the month of March. So like I say, the show has just wrapped up not too long ago. This one is written again by Jack Schaefer, directed by Matt Shackman. All right, for the third and final time on this wonderful journey we've been on, Wes's TV Guide says, Agnes, having revealed her true identity, makes a play to seize Wanda's powers, while Vision is confronted by a twisted reflection of himself. The entire family is about to be torn asunder. Will anyone survive the Westview anomaly? It's okay, you can laugh, because I am too.
Oh, it's fantastic. I love it.
That's good. I have a deep appreciation.
What's the line in The Lost Boys? The grandfather says, "Don't need to watch TV if you read the TV guide."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so I actually, when you said that, Hank, let's write our own synopses. I thought, okay, this will be fun.
It was fun, yeah.
When I did it, I'm like, I actually was trying to put myself in the position of what was it like to be somebody who worked for TV Guide? Is that what they went through every time? Because not every show or every movie got a little blurb in the book because it was only so many pages, but still, you only get 1, 2 lines, 3 if you're lucky, to summarize, an hour of TV.
It's one of the hardest skills that they tried to teach me in comedy school is how to write a log line or a pitch.
Yeah.
And keep it down to a manageable size.
Yeah, and I mean my own writing style, as for anybody who's a fan of our show can attest to, my style is not short. So this was a real exercise for me to write these things, right? But I had a great time doing it. So this is, like I say, this is the MCU episode. This is the final battle, as it were, and everything's going to come tumbling down.
This is the one where they have the sky beam, right?
So just in the broad strokes, the big plot beats here are Agnes and Wanda are going to go toe-to-toe, and Vision are going to go toe-to-toe. The kids kind of hang in the balance, and we've got Sword riding in like the cavalry here.
This is it. We're going in.
Going to do whatever they think they're going to do, which may or may not play out the way that they want it to, particularly where Hayward is concerned.
Based on Hayward's monologue, though, it doesn't feel very much like cavalry.
No, it's more like
more
of an invasion force.
Yeah, it's more like a third element in a 2-prong battle.
Yep.
Yeah.
Was anybody
interestingly, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just hoping that maybe White Vision would have James Spader's voice.
Oh, really? Yeah. That's an interesting. That's an interesting thought.
I've read a few people
that
online.
That would have been awesome.
You just didn't make it through.
Funny you should say that, because last night, just as I said, I upgraded my Crave subscription just so I could watch Justice League, and instead of doing that, because it was getting late, I found myself staring at the title card for Superman 4, and I'm like, I turned to my wife and I said, "Have you seen Superman 4?" She's like, "I'm sure I have, but it's been long enough now that it would be like watching it for the first time." And when Lex creates Nuclear Man, Nuclear Man has Lex Luthor's voice.
Oh,
yeah,
crazy!
Yeah.
Right.
He speaks in Gene Hackman's voice.
That's fantastic.
So it was interesting. They put a little bit of a boom and echo on it, but it's Gene Hackman.
That's not the Richard Pryor one, is it?
No, that's 3.
No.
Yeah.
4 is the Quest for Peace. 4 is the one that Chris Reeve got really... So it had the smallest budget. It arguably is the worst of them all, but Chris Reeve was really behind it. He actually co-wrote the story for that one. He was really, really behind it. And it was the disarming of the world's nuclear stock.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember the plot.
Yeah. So anyway, get away from Superman for a minute, come back to WandaVision. So yeah, those are the major plot beats, right? And then the battle plays out in a very typical Marvel fashion, where like what we saw in Endgame, where everybody got their little blurb, where you had this little sub team over here is doing what they're doing, and then this sub team is over here doing their thing, and it bounced back and forth like that with a lot of sharp cuts back and forth. Felt very MCU like to me, anyway.
You're listening to Fandom Power.
far as the Vision fight goes, it's very interesting that you have like Vision's mind fighting his body.
Yeah.
Like, the full color Vision is a memory of what Vision was, and white Vision is the remnant of what he was, physical remnant. And I like the fact that they fight each other, but then at some point they realize, like, this isn't going to go anywhere, and it just becomes a discussion about logic, and the whole thing about Theseus's boat. Like, is it still the boat?
The ship of
Am
Theseus,
I still the Vision? I don't have the memories of the Vision?
The ship of Theseus, a study on existential reality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I totally called what was going to happen, by the way. I figured that Wanda's powers were going to recreate a memory of Vision, which would go into his dead body and become the new Vision. I had that picked out when I read the synopsis for the series.
We could kind of talk about that in the where we think it's going from here, because there's a lot of, going back to the Wakanda thing, how much of the Vision is sitting on a drive somewhere in Shuri's back pocket? You know, is that even relevant anymore with the memory version of Vision unlocking the West Coast Avengers style Vision's memories? Is that even necessary anymore?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And then we have this sort of weird kind of, I don't want to say anything controversial, but Monica versus the establishment, basically, when Sword rolls up and they're like, all right, we're going to take what we want from this situation.
Yeah.
And they try to take the kids. And it's like, okay, I don't know how they're going to survive outside of the Hex, but like, she turns on the establishment and is like, nah, that's not on.
She actually takes a bullet for those kids. Several bullets, actually. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we get to see her, I believe that is a representation of her energy transference.
Yeah.
So turn like different types of energy into light.
That I think is now you can probably correct me better on this, Andy and Hank, who are more comic versed. That is more, now is that more photon or is that more spectrum? Does it matter?
I mean, it's probably more in line with her photon abilities.
Yeah.
But her photon abilities were her Captain Marvel abilities too.
Yeah.
Change. I'm not familiar with her as Spectrum as much.
I dove in on the Spectrum piece, particularly around her and Ralph in the attic, where they're tussling in the attic, and he's like, "You want to go another round?" And she's trying to figure out what's controlling him. And so by switching the visible spectrum from the visible spectrum of light through what other spectrums she can see on, she sees that the beaded necklace is enchanted. And she goes for the necklace, and that removes Ralph from Agnes's control. I thought that was kind of neat.
Totally different way than how Wanda is operating. Like Wanda is just effortlessly doing this, and she's got to do. She has to
beat magic with science,
like a talisman or something. You know, like an extra.
Enchanted
an object.
An object, yeah,
a magic item.
A sigil.
Well,
exactly.
That follows with the laying of the rune.
Yeah,
she's got to place her magic on something or on someone for it to work.
So let's drop back to episode 7 for a minute when we were in the lair. And is that the episode where Catherine Hahn says the runic?
Only the witch.
Only the witch that casts the runes can use her magic.
Yeah, touches on the rune thing.
I thought that was the beginning of 8.
Is it in 8?
Yeah, I think that's
in the right in the lair. It's
reveal.
In the lair where she's being held prisoner.
Yeah.
Which really comes back to play in a major way in this episode with Wanda intentionally. And I watched the battle a couple of times to see if, because I was counting, like, how many sides are in a hexagon? 6? How many energy blasts from Wanda miss? And how many of them, no, there's more actually. There's quite a few. It's more like a dozen. But how many of them are, at least 6 of them are intentional to cast the rune onto every side of the hex.
As soon as she missed the first time and I watched it explode against the hex, I was like, oh, she's doing the rune thing.
Oh, I didn't get that.
I picked it up the first time, but I wasn't counting.
When the reveal came out, when we actually saw the rune kind of materialize behind her, I was like, yes!
Yeah.
You know, in that kind of... Yeah, it was the big hero moment.
It's kind of poetic, too, how, you know, again, going back to people complaining about the mirror match style of MCU movies,
right?
How Wanda ends up using the villain's power against the villain.
Oh yeah.
Instead of the villain using the hero's power against the hero.
Right.
Like, Wanda learns about the runes from her. She does the magic stealing trick at the end.
Yeah.
Like, everything that Wanda does as the hero to defeat the villain, she learned from the villain.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
But at the same time, it throws back.
It does.
Agatha being her teacher. And
yeah,
technically, she's learning from her.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the adversary.
If anything, on the nose, if anything, the runic lesson is not lost on her.
No.
You know, what else she gleans from that, we've yet to see. But as she said at the end of this episode, you will live here. You'll need me. Well, and I know where you are. You know, like if she needs to come back, she always can.
I just wanted to comment on the final Scarlet Witch outfit.
Definitely, we can touch on that. It's certainly
she creates this outfit that is, it's got the crown and it's very form fitting, and a friend of mine pointed out, like, that's how you do sexy without being sexualized,
without being trashy.
Yeah,
sure.
Because it's very form fitting and it very clearly shows her figure.
The fully realized MCU version of the Scarlet Witch's character is as perfect as it could be.
Yeah, it's totally awesome.
Yeah.
It was great.
Didn't realize it until, I guess on the rewatch. The title card, not the title card, but the when you go to Disney Plus and you queue up the show and you've got the preview image, all the television screens that are stacked up in front of Wanda and Vision in the screens show their MCU look, including Wanda's. Yeah. You don't get to see the whole thing, but it's there. You're like, oh, there's a little tease. And I don't remember it being like that in the initial
I'm pretty sure in the initial
run. Yeah.
They added one per episode.
It felt like that.
That's funny.
So we can talk about the Ship of Theseus thing, whether that's I don't know if that's really an Easter egg thing or not. It's more of a plot point, really. But the fact that Vision is able to, again, the whole warrior poet or warrior monk thing, and how he's able to resolve the conflict, they talked it out. I really liked that. I dug that a lot.
I request elaboration.
In fact, that might even be my favorite moment of the whole episode, to be honest with you.
It's a good one, for sure.
It's pretty good.
Thematically, this episode, if we go back to that 12-step analogy, this one is the, we've finally, she's processed. She may not be done processing, but we've now hit acceptance. So this is the big acceptance episode, because this is where the fantasy is abandoned in favor of the new reality, which is, it's prevalent throughout, like even especially in they meaning Wanda and Vision's last interaction before he's winked out of existence, and talking about how, I've been a form without a body. I've been a body, but not human. Who knows what I'll be next?
He sheds a single tear. Which
yeah.
There's in the comic, I can't recall what it is. Anyways, it's the issue where the Avengers accept him into the Avengers, and they accept him because he's, like the Star Trek line where the Vulcan is the most human person.
Right, yeah.
Similar to that, where your humanity and your compassion is why we're letting you into the Avengers, and he walks off by himself, and he sheds a single tear, that's exactly what it reminded me of.
Even an android can cry. That's Avengers 58.
You got it, bro. Yeah.
Do androids dream of electric sheep? Here we
go. And that's coming.
Here we go. So what's the line? There's a line where he's like, maybe, who knows, we're in our next, we'll say hello again.
We've said goodbye before.
Yeah.
We will say hello
We'll say hello. And so you're left with this, like, oh my God, there's got to be a meeting of the minds, whether it's West Coast style Vision is going to go off and reconcile himself with his intended purpose versus what, not Proto-Vision, but Vision's vision, Wanda's vision. We'll call him that. What Wanda's vision.
Illusion?
Yeah. What that version is, and like we've already sort of alluded to, like,
in living color.
Yeah. Because of the Mind Stone, there's an argument to be made that Wanda's manifestation isn't 100% a manifestation of her creation, that there is a portion of the real Vision in there because of the Infinity the Mind Stone's energy.
Yeah.
It's a nice way that we can get Paul Bettany back as the actual Vision without being the actual Vision.
We have said goodbye before.
We'll say hello again.
And it's said often, nothing scientific, but that you live as long as you're remembered.
Yeah.
And so what she, they're literally her memories, giving life to her memories. And that's why he was so screen accurate, if you will.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Really, really admired Paul Bettany's acting in this episode. I had no idea until I watched Assembled. I had no idea that his head, besides the basic color choice for makeup, was 100% CGI. Had no idea. I actually thought there was a lot more prosthesis involved in his character, but not so. Yeah. A bald cap and a bulk color. But there's a really subtle difference here in the facial expression where West Coast style White Vision has a sneer.
Yes.
And it just makes him just ever so slightly wicked, to use the magic reference. Villainous, I guess.
Well, he's got a good line when he's got Wanda by the head. I was told you were powerful.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a challenge. But he's like,
and I was told you were powerful.
That's a fucking scary line.
Which is totally.
Oh, your boyfriend and your ex
showed
up at the same party. Which one will you choose? Like, there's so many little good lines in this.
Referring to a reanimated corpse as your ex is a little tacky.
Yeah.
Tacky or not, though, it works, though.
It's evocative, yeah.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, along with the grief component, right, and the acceptance, I think one of the other themes I think that we see in this one is that, this is the episode that tells us or reminds us that no matter what choices we make, there are always consequences. Wanda as a villain was always at question throughout the entire episode. And on some level, by the end of this episode, when she's leaving town and everybody's staring her down, there's a bunch of people there that are never going to view her as anything else but a villain.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's
very Twilight Zone-y.
We've talked about this on the show before, where perception is everything, So you think about what those people's perceptions are of having been, mental prisoners for the past week. Yeah.
And Monica even says it, like, they will never know what you've
done for them. No, they won't.
They'll never know what you sacrificed for them.
It's unfortunate. It's what's the word? It's bittersweet, I guess. Because we as the viewer know.
Yeah.
You want so badly to, like, it's the yell at your TV moment. This is so fucking bullshit. At the same time, it's not, though, right?
Can we touch on Jimmy Woo for a second?
Yeah, of course we can.
Hey, it's my favorite member of the Bureau.
Well, Hayward is doing his villain monologue about, when I'm done, they won't know that anything else has happened, what I tell them. He's handcuffed and he steals a cell phone. But could this be another throwback to maybe magic lessons from Ant-Man, where he picks the lock pretty goddamn quick?
So I have that in my list of Easter eggs, actually. That's a great one.
A little bit of sleight of hand.
I said Jimmy getting out of his handcuffs with a flourish.
Flourish
is a nod to learning stage magic that he gained an interest in, having had to babysit Scott Lang.
It's also the line that Vision uses when he's drunk and does the one trick, flourish.
Yeah.
It's like, because Jimmy's watched the show.
I think it's also commentary on how, you have to be careful what you say nowadays, because everybody's got a microphone.
Or a camera.
He steals that cell phone and he's like, yep, keep talking, bud.
Oh, yeah. Implicate yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not recording you.
He does have a good acting bit there against the Hayward character when he says, you're bluffing. And his delivery of the line,
Am I?
is really good. It's actually really.
Yeah, talking about my friends from Quantico might have something to say about that when they get here.
Inside the hour.
Within the hour.
There's a loose reference when he calls the FBI. He's talking to somebody named Cliff.
Mm-hmm.
There's a SHIELD agent in exactly one story in the comic books whose name was Cliff Randall.
Yeah.
So it's probably just a coincidence, or it might just be one of those, like,
or is it
nudge, 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 wink, wink kind of things.
Because if they're playing on that, the actor playing Jimmy Woo is Randall Park.
Yeah, it's Randall Park. Yeah.
Yeah, the story that Cliff Randall was in had some alien type overtones to it. So I just want to say I'm totally in for the Jimmy Woo TV show where he and Darcy are basically the MCU version of Scully and Mulder.
Oh boy,
like,
I'm down.
I'm so in for that. Take my money now.
That might be enough for me. I was never an X-Files fan, so it's a bit of a stretch for me. But because those characters, while Jimmy particularly being as charismatic as he has been throughout the series, I would definitely give it a try.
And it's a good way to tell the stories about things that are smaller, like, maybe this could be, they could do some Ghost Rider stuff that's, aside from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That doesn't involve Nicolas Cage.
or Swamp Thing, or, those weird offshoot characters and happenings that
Man-Thing, if they did go after him, would be interesting because he is also a Nexus being.
Yes.
No, it's true.
What about that most recent run on with Cosmic Ghost Rider? Is there a chance he could show up later on down the road somewhere?
Maybe.
I don't even know.
If they run out of ideas.
I don't even know where the film rights of that character lie right now. So
there's sort of leaked rumors that the two twins shot scenes for the Multiverse of Madness movie too.
I want to talk about that particularly because this is where, again, if I can come back to the whole Mephisto thing, maybe you know what? We'll talk about it right now. At the end of the episode, we've dismantled the Westview anomaly, and Wanda goes off in her own grief. We say our metaphorical goodbyes. Everybody goes off on their own way, and we get the Wanda sailing away into the blue, and then we get our post-credit scene. Wanda on the front steps of the cottage. She's making tea or whatever. But meanwhile, she's astral projecting herself, studying the Darkhold. Very Stephen Strange, right? How he learned his magic.
Very Stephen Strange. There's another thing here, too.
Two of them.
At the same time, she can hear the boys calling for help. If the boys are not... So that tells me that... This is why I've really laid into that whole, there's a higher power at work here.
Yeah.
This ties directly back to the comic influence that the boys are Mephisto on some level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think
seems like a trap. There's another cool moment because this is the last chance at an Easter egg.
Yeah.
And we know that the next product that's coming out with these characters is going to be the Doctor Strange.
The Doctor
sequel.
Strange film, yeah.
It's not lost on me that Sam Raimi, who is the director of that movie, started his career by filming a movie in a cabin.
Oh, wow.
Evil Dead.
That's right. Yeah. Nice.
He also directed Oz the Great and Powerful.
And there is another reference to that
so
in there, too.
I've got a bit, So we have that.
Right, with Agatha's boots.
The boots under the car.
She throws the car on her, yeah.
Well, not only that, but the Coronet Theater, when it's cycling through, one of the movies that pops up is
Wizard of Oz.
No, it's Oz the Great and Powerful.
Okay.
Oh, so another meta reference.
Oh, right, when things are starting to unravel. Yep. Okay, yes, you're right.
Do you guys want to just do a rundown of the references in here?
Yeah, Easter eggs. The Wizard of Oz moment with the boots under the car, Jimmy's flourish, astral projecting around the Darkhold, and Monica using her spectrum powers to reveal the enchantment of the beaded necklace. Okay, yeah. What do you got, Eric?
Well, for this entire episode, Wanda has gone back to her creepy, twitchy hand gesture thing that she was doing in Age of Ultron that she hadn't done since.
Yep.
Which I thought was really cool. Going back to her slightly more villainous origins.
She did do some of that in Endgame.
Just a little bit, but it wasn't as prevalent because she wasn't as prevalent.
They hired a choreographer to come in on the show and work with her on that to develop the hand movements.
Yeah, they showed a little bit of that in the assembled behind the scenes stuff. The Scarlet Witch is fabled to be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. That was the throwaway line at the beginning there.
Yeah.
The tiny cabin in front of the mountain, that's probably Mount Wundagore.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
I would say so. What else do we got here? Vision sheds a single tear, like we said. That's from Avengers 58.
Yeah.
Even an android can cry. And it's been reported that the actors who played Billy and Tommy, you're right, they did film scenes for
Interesting.
Doctor Strange. It's been confirmed.
Oh, good to know.
So that's pretty cool. The man cave.
What is this stuff?
This is my man cave.
That Ralph Boner is hiding in.
Yeah.
Boner.
Looks suspiciously like Quicksilver's basement.
Yep.
From
from
the
that was on my list.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
Was there a pinball machine in there? Or an arcade machine?
Maybe.
I think so.
Nice.
Agatha was actually living in Ralph's home.
Agnes doesn't live here. You do.
So that's why
I guess so.
It was his home that she was living in.
Yeah.
So that's why she kept referring to her husband Ralph. So yeah.
Yeah, all the way back to that first
right.
episode, Ralph appeared June 2nd.
This is actually the third time that the Darkhold has been shown. It was shown once in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and once in Runaways.
But apparently they had a different look in those
that's correct.
appearances, yeah.
But it's an evil book, so it could easily be an evil transforming book. Or maybe those shows don't really belong in the continuity.
Well, I mean, let's face it. As I said in the preamble, the promise that was made was not what we got, and that's universal across every Marvel show, whether it was ABC or Netflix. They kind of did, and they kind of didn't, and it wasn't what they told us we were going to get.
And then the last one, this is a little bit of a reach, but Agatha is standing in front of a billboard at one point.
Sure.
For a cleaning product called Squeaky Shine.
Yeah.
Which is boasted to have an all-natural formula using the power of Mother Earth. So the author of the Darkhold is said to be the demon Sathon, which is from Sathonic. But it's also sometimes just means things that are of the natural world.
Right.
And Persephone ruled the underworld at the side of Hades.
Right.
And Persephone was the god of the earth, and the Earth Mother. So it's another loose connection to Mephisto.
So Scython too, I thought you were going this direction, but it's just an addendum to what you were saying. It's the Darkhold was used by Scython, who was an elder god. They have different tiers of gods in the Marvel universe. Mm-hmm. He used Wanda as a pawn because he wanted to invade Earth. So he used her as a portal.
Yeah.
To send demons to Earth. So there's that.
Yeah. Is that everything you got, Eric?
That's literally everything I've got on the list.
All right.
I got a couple.
Oh, yeah, Hank, go for it.
Go. Hank. I got a couple.
Is it Tommy? Which one is... Tommy steals Sword Agent's hat and glasses, just like Pietro does in the X-Men movie.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, if anybody else has any, I'm just
go for it.
Scanning through things.
Well, I got one for you.
Yeah.
Just before she locks Agatha back into the Agnes persona, she says, "I'll be seeing you," which is a reference to the show The Prisoner.
Oh.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's really cool. Actually, that's deep.
Were either of those people... I don't know that show, so...
I don't know fully, but...
Okay.
The classic show The Prisoner, in which a former secret agent is forced to live a perfect life in a creepily prefabricated town.
Right.
So there's the whole Stepford Wives, Pleasantville, everything is fun. Yeah. Oh, that's creepy. All right. Hank, did you find what you were looking for?
No, I didn't. You guys go ahead.
So
I think we all want to finish with the big one.
Before we jump in the big one, though, should we talk about the second cutscene?
Yeah, sure we can.
Where Jimmy shows up, the hex is gone.
Yep.
Monica gets asked to go for a debrief. They say they want to meet you in the theater.
Yeah.
And they go in, and lo and behold, the agent turns into a Skrull.
Yeah. Now, do we have a name for this character?
I don't have one.
I didn't either. I didn't think there was anything out there yet.
I don't think she's a specific Skrull. She's just a Skrull agent.
There was some talk about her revealing herself as a Skrull in the theater. Does that add a layer to the implication of why Monica is summoned to the theater? Now, I don't know. To me, I think, watching it again, it's like, oh, they're expecting you, and the theater was just an empty building.
Right.
Because they're not staying in Westview.
No.
So there was a thing I read that suggested that the theater might actually be a conduit to the Sword station in orbit.
Could be.
I don't really, I don't buy into that. But
I think that would be too coincidental.
Yeah.
Like, that's a little bit too much.
just to finish off the previous point.
Yep.
The Skrull tells her a friend of your mother's wants to talk to you, and then points up.
Yeah.
So
space moon stuff.
yeah, basically, but they don't exactly drop Nick Fury's name.
They
but
don't.
It's implied.
But are we? Yeah. So are we all in agreement that it's Nick Fury?
No.
So Hank, what are you thinking? Carol?
It might be
yeah.
Captain Marvel.
Okay, so that's the
Captain
other one.
Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, there's another dropped arc. Oh, it's not a dropped arc. We probably haven't got there yet, but I mean, if we're going to do the X-Men properly, Carol Danvers weighs heavily in the classic 80s X-Men continuity.
That's right.
Where she actually is possessed by Rogue.
Yes.
And Miss Marvel's powers transfer to Rogue, and then Carol Danvers becomes the Herald of Galactus.
Yeah.
And the character binary. And so that can overlap with, you know what I mean? I'm getting at now. Galactus is a big baddie.
No, I totally see what you're saying.
For
How
the
you can
Fantastic Four.
organically
So it's a
weave
gateway. Like we start to really entwine things. And if I'm the guy that's writing this new wave of stuff, I'm pulling those threads heavily.
I don't see why you wouldn't. That's a nice organic way to pull it all in.
One of the things they did poorly in all the X-Men movies, especially the third one, was Rogue was just an emotional teenager that could steal your feelings, like not the just crazy powerhouse that she was in the comics.
Yeah, so not
watch
to
the cartoon.
Yeah. Not to dive on the X-Men too much, but I always said that the Logan, the 2001 X-Men, the Logan Rogue relationship in that film was more akin to the Wolverine Jubilee relationship. Yeah,
100%. Yeah. That's what they were doing there. And I mean, I know you don't know how long these things have legs, and they were experimenting with superhero movies in the 90s to see what they could push and do. And so you're trying to jam as many storylines into a thing as possible. You know, one of the things that hurts my heart in terms of X-Men stories is we're never, or probably not in my lifetime, going to get a really good version of the Dark Phoenix saga, because we've tried it twice and failed, and I don't think they should club it again. But it is the best comic story ever told.
You know, I'm a big fan of that one too. I'm also a big fan of Age of Apocalypse, which also did not get a fantastic treatment.
Yeah.
But you know what? Again, like the Spider-Man Homecoming film, in the sense that, you know, we don't need to do the origin all over again. Maybe there are ways within the confines of the MCU as it exists that we can get those stories in some form, you know, that won't take away from the what's the word? The weight of them, but not have to give us all of the exposition that we already kind of know.
Certainly you could reintroduce the second wave of X-Men by having the Krakoa storyline of the Living Island capturing the original X-Men, and not have to do great exposition with backstory, and just have, you know, characters we know but at their genesis. But you don't have to bog each individual character down with how they became that character. We're familiar with Colossus.
We know how heroes are made.
Right, and so we just hit the ground running with their new to the reality, but here's their mission, and we're just going to hit the ground with, you know, trying to save the old X-Men, and we're also familiar with, and they could even be the old X-Men.
They sure can,
from that timeline.
As they've said, that, you know, the intent is that Ryan Reynolds will not be recast, and he will continue to play Deadpool in the MCU. Right. Doesn't mean that some of those side characters that we were introduced couldn't be pulled over as well, particularly Colossus and the Juggernaut. You know, they're shining examples of, you know, those characters done in a very credible way.
There's a scene in, and I don't know, maybe I have to watch it over and over. There's a scene in WandaVision where the episode where Monica wakes up, she bumps into somebody in the hall, and they like make a big deal about him covering up who he is.
Oh.
And to me, it looks a lot like the actor who plays Iceman in the X-Men movies.
I just saw him in something recently. Oh my lord, he's a twin.
Is he?
The actor is actually a twin. He's a Canadian too. Oh my lord, what's his name?
Go back and watch that, guys. Though, just for a split second, I'm probably grasping at crazy straws, and I mean there is archetype to people and actors. But...
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I just want to point out one more thing before we move on from this point. Captain Marvel got brought up. Carol Danvers is an awful, terrible person if you've read any of the comics in the last 15 to 20 years. She is a selfish, arrogant, conceited, like, all of her power went straight to her head at some point. She was actually the quote-unquote villain for the second Civil War series that was done. So she has risen and fallen multiple times.
Yeah, but
And
I mean,
her current incarnation in the comics is a terrible person. And I realized that at the MCU, like, she was the first, female superhero to get a solo movie and all of that jazz. But I would point out that other characters, like Jessica Jones got her series. We got a Miss Marvel coming up for Kamala Khan. We got She-Hulk coming up.
Yeah.
Which I really hope is just a courtroom procedural with a green lawyer. But, like, there are going to be a lot more strong female influences.
Sure.
And just on a personal level, I'm not a huge fan of Captain Marvel as a character, just because of a lot of the things that they've done with her in the comics.
Well, I mean,
I realize that they're separate continuity.
If they can present Steve Rogers as an agent of Hydra, whether it was real or not, and until that reveal came out, people were buying into it, then Carol Danvers can be a horrible person for a while. It doesn't really.
We mentioned when we just took a break that, like, turning that Hail Hydra thing on its head in Endgame was possibly one of the greatest coups in Marvel's history.
Yeah, I hated that storyline. Hurt my heart.
Lots of people did not like it. But that is they're learning. But it's also this is the thing, right? And I don't want to get into the weeds too much, but it's this whole, like, I'm going to frame it around the coronavirus, which has impacted, countless people. It is really wreaking havoc on the film industry, right? The way that we're telling stories, the way that we're conveying those stories, it's changed. And, I don't even know where I was going with this. It's just like, all the fan outcry, and I'll say this, all the people who said, like, oh, Steve Rogers, you ruined my childhood. Listen, buds, it's a comic book, and if you're gonna say that a storyline in a work of fiction ruined your childhood, what kind of childhood did you have?
You're not living your life, my friend.
Right.
At the same time, there are a lot of people that did live inside those comics.
I am not going to dispute that in any way, shape, or form. We all attach.
I know what you mean, though.
We all attach to the media properties that resonate with us for different reasons, and when those reasons are drastically subverted, there's that word again. But when they are subverted like that, when the tone is changed, when the character trajectory is drastically changed, it is off-putting, and but that makes those
good art should make you feel something.
But those redemption arcs, the redemption arc on the back end of those makes it much better. So sometimes not every storyline is gonna hit. You're not gonna have a winner with all of them. So
no, exactly.
So how about this? How about this theater?
Yes, let's crack on with the theater. So this is a good one. The theater marquee, as we close out the episode, reads Tannhauser Gate. Put the fun in dysfunction. So the Tannhauser Gate, this is a clear reference to the Roy Batty character in Blade Runner. So if you don't know anything about Roy Batty was played by Rutger Hauer. This is probably the best film role the man has ever had. And I'm a big Rutger Hauer fan. I am raising the roof for him presently. Roy Batty's a replicant. And he's got this huge monologue to Deckard at the end of the movie where he talks about things that he's seen. And the Tannhauser Gate, although it's never expressly, you're never actually told what the Tannhauser Gate is. Presumably it's some kind of intergalactic portal like we see in some of the, like in Guardians, when you need to travel long distances in space.
Sunrises on Delphi.
Yeah, sunrises on Delphi. And then the idea is that the reference to the Tannhauser Gate not only draws comparisons, really towards, like, does it draw a comparison between the baddie character and Vision as artificial life forms?
Well, they're both synthetic people.
On some level, it does.
In that moment, accepting their death.
So here's another thing, right? In Blade Runner, there are certain replicants that had particular memories installed within them to make them believe that they were real people.
That's right.
So again, to me, that draws a comparison to, is the white Vision the real Vision? Is that a reference? The whole, like, is he or isn't
Coming
he?
back to Pinocchio, man.
It's the Theseus experiment
I'm a
again
real
too.
boy.
It is.
How much of the old parts do you take away and replace before it becomes something else? One of my favorite parts about that scene in Blade Runner is that a lot of it was ad-libbed.
Oh yeah, they let him go off.
They just let him go off.
He did not read the script as it was written because he felt that there was some, I think the words was boring. So he dropped the boring parts and emphasized the parts that he thought were more relevant to his character. But let's talk about the memory thing, right? Because again, baddie, by the end of the movie is very clearly, and the whole Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep is Harrison's Ford character, is he a replicant or not? Well, there's no question baddie is a replicant. We know that. But the idea that he's one of those replicants that may have been, these memories, that he's a real thing, doesn't take away from the fact that he's lived his life, he's had the experiences that he's had. And then again, the analogous reference to, the Wanda's vision unlocking the memories of the white Vision, it's very analogous to this. Are the memories enough to convince him that he's the real deal? So I find that one super deep, and
yes.
I loved it.
And those themes, and even stronger in the novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, the Philip K. Dick novel that Blade Runner is based on. That are the central themes of Vision. Oh my God, I'm Chekhov for a second there. Of Vision's character
Nuclear
arc.
vessels.
Yeah, exactly. of Vision's vessels. They're indicative of his arc here, and especially of Roy Batty's final moments, where he ostensibly becomes human.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Vision's last moments are about, and West Coast Vision's birth, if you will, is about.
Yeah. So, I'm curious to know, and this is just me, this is pure speculation stuff. The next time we see this character, because I am fully convinced there will be a next time, will he have metamorphosized? Will he be less chunky and more smooth? Will he revert to the classic green and gold? Are we going to see him as is in the next? Because I think that the metamorphosis analogy, I don't think we're done with that yet. I think this is alluding to that there's more development for that character.
Who knows what he'll be next?
Right.
I think there's a couple of things you need to consider there. The first, of course, being budget. Which Vision is easier to animate? Like,
monochromatic?
Is there a difference between, what it costs to turn Paul Bettany in white Vision as opposed to colored Vision?
Sure.
There are also questions of, if you're trying to, is there a message that's being sent? Are we going to send a message? Are we sending a message we're not intending? There's a whole bunch of sticky, sort of titchy little real world questions that will have to be answered. Personally, I think they're going to stick to white Vision, and he's going to be a version of Vision. He might not be so philosopher when we see him the next time.
I'm a little more idyllic on the notion. I think you are correct to a point, Eric. I think that there will be a period of time, whether that's a film or two or three, or even an entire phase, as the phases with Vision.
I think it's going to be similar.
And I'm going to just speculate here. When we talk about Doctor Strange and the multiverse of madness, what are the chances that the multiverse of madness is a direct reference to Wanda's madness and her mental breakdown that may or may not be completely resolved. You know, the idea that she's going to go off the rails again, it's going to be on a galactic level, and the thing that's going to bring her back is the Vision and their love.
I think the multiverse of like, I know that we're looking for things. I know Wanda's in it, and I know that it has a lot of connotations just in the name, but I think that it's more about what was referenced, and it referenced twice in Endgame, and that's how they were viewing the repercussions of them traveling through time.
Yeah.
And the way that basically when Banner learns from the Ancient One, how it works, and tells them, no, every time you time travel, you don't create a paradox, you create a new reality.
A branch reality. Yeah.
And so the multiverse is what they've done is, through trying to set things correct, they've created all these other realities.
Yeah.
And that we're going to get versions. And I think that's where it stems from, that conversation and that sort of cut and dry way that the smart Hulk says, nope, this is the way it works. You create new realities every time.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're doing, is we're getting, and certainly it could lead to Wanda being that character that manipulates all the realities or is pulling from them. Or certainly we're moving away from the first generation of heroes. Like, we know that the next iteration of the Avengers is going to be similar to the second iteration of the Avengers, right? Where you had Hawkeye, where you had Wasp, where you had the Vision and Scarlet Witch, where you had Wonder Man, you had. Right. So we're moving into that sort of second phase of the comic Avengers, which are all those characters.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing all those characters up to the Tony Stark and Captain America and, tier.
I want to ask the question.
Yeah.
With regards to the credit scene with Wanda on the mountain.
Yep.
There is a Wanda outside drinking tea. And then we are shown a Wanda inside with her legs crossed, reading the Darkhold, doing whatever she's doing.
Yep.
Right.
Do you think that those are the same Wanda from our world splitting herself? Or do you think that Wanda has already reached across the veil and pulled another version of herself in?
No. She's straight up astral projecting.
Yep. Same as Doctor Strange was doing.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange astral projecting. Yep.
Okay.
I agree.
Fair enough.
Valiant effort, though, sir.
That was where my brain immediately went, is like, oh, she's already breached the veil. This is where the multiverse is, like, being confirmed. Like, she's pulled another one of herself in.
Yeah. It's a good thought, but we just finished putting her back together. So if we're going to shatter her again, it wouldn't be immediately.
No, it would have to be over the course of something bigger. And that's why I kind of leaned into the Doctor Strange thing. I'm going to take another left turn. And I'm going to talk about the upcoming Spider-Man. We've all been following that, like, with bated breath, with all these casting announcements. When we're pulling from the Raimi-verse and then the rebooted the Garfield Spider-Man, like, these concepts all lend themselves to a collision course where they're going to collide in some way. Like, everybody's like, oh, we're going to get a live-action Spider-Verse. That may be, but is it going to be framed in the bigger context of the multiverse of madness?
I absolutely think so. That's got to be the overarching theme.
For sure.
And I think that the existing Spider-Man multiverse movie, the animated, was an attempt to see if that was going to take.
We'll call it the test bed.
And it was fantastic.
Yeah, it really was.
One thing it did for me that the comics didn't do was it let me really understand Miles Morales as Spider-Man, because previously I didn't find any of the Miles Morales comics got me in my feels the
compelling
way Peter
enough.
Parker's did. And that movie let let Peter Parker die.
Oh, wow.
I was okay with it. I was okay with that because I feel like Peter Parker, more than any other hero, I don't feel like he's Spider-Man when he pulls on the mask. I feel like but I feel like he's always Spider-Man and he's always Peter Parker.
Yep.
Like
he's a lot more.
Superman, although he's like sort of the Genesis hero, he's the opposite of every other hero.
Sure.
Where he's Superman and his secret identity is Clark Kent.
Yep.
and Batman's secret identity is
Bruce Wayne,
is a real person. I've always felt that there was no division between Peter and Spider-Man.
Yeah, they're the same person.
So you had, if you're going to put somebody else in that costume, I like call him the Scarlet Spider, call him Webface.
Sure,
and it bothered me to my core, and people were like, "Oh, you're racist, or you're homophobic, or you," and it wasn't that. It was that Peter is Spider-Man, and I was unwilling to accept another person because it's not a mantle to me. It's synonymous with the individual.
Although
and that
I will
movie
say, like,
let me go. No, there's another kid.
There can
capable.
be. Yeah, sure.
There's another person capable of carrying that truth forward.
You could wear the mask.
I really hope that the Spider-Man multiverse stuff comes true, because there's two things I really want to see, and one of them is I can't wait to see Alfred Molina
I think
back
that's
as
been confirmed,
Doc Ock.
Yeah,
It's
he
been
is.
confirmed. I can't wait to see it. But the other thing is, if they do make a live action Miles Morales, that means we might get to see Donald Glover as the Prowler.
Oh yeah, I guess so, eh?
Which, because he was already confirmed, he's playing Aaron James.
Right.
In the Homecoming movie.
I gotta tell you, the biggest Spider-Man grab for me, outside of classic Spidey, was Spider-Man 2099. I really dug Miguel O'Hara, and I love that character. So any chance that we'll get more of him in any way? I know that it was alluded to in the animated
he was
film.
in the post credits of
yeah.
It's a really bad PS3 game.
Yeah.
Where
was there a skin?
Jump back, you just jump back and forth between Spidey 2099 and Peter Parker.
That game wasn't that bad, actually.
No,
there's two of them.
Yeah.
One of them was him. It was just 2099 and regular Spider-Man.
Sure.
But the other one, you got to play as Ultimate Spider-Man in his Venom suit.
Oh, crazy!
And you also got to play as Spider-Man Noir.
Oh,
I felt
right.
The one I was referencing, I felt would have been better as an open world free swinging game, but it was
that's true. Yes,
it was a level based scrolling side scroller reminiscent of games from the 80s.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Anyways,
well, guys, we have taken a crazy amount of time, much longer than I had anticipated to do this, but at the
Star
same
Wars
time,
all over again.
Well, it is, but it isn't, because unlike the Star Wars episode where we actually recorded it over 2 sessions, I mean, you won't know this until you're listening to it, but this has been one exceptionally long recording session. But I have to say, the conversation was very organic.
Oh yeah,
and it felt really, really good. So,
dude, I could sit and talk nerd with you guys for days.
Let's just close it up here, and let's just. I opened up by saying, we're going to take a look back and see, did the show live up to our expectations? So now that we've run the gamut, we've talked about all 9 episodes, and we kind of talked about where things might be going. Let's talk about our expectations being met. I'm going to start with you, Erik. What do you think? Did you think that WandaVision met, exceeded, did not live up to? Where are you at with it now that it's over?
I will say that it exceeded my expectations because I had none. I came into this expecting not to like it.
Yeah.
And I was pleasantly surprised.
Okay.
And I think that the show has done an excellent job of bridging what we know into a mysterious future that we can only
that we don't
speculate about.
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Speculate we shall.
Yeah. Hank, what about you?
It blew me away. You know, guys, how I felt about it in the first 10 minutes?
Yep.
So it actually blew every expectation I had out of the water, because, I mean, I didn't have many, but I didn't know what we were in for, and I had completely written it off.
Yeah.
I can't apologize enough to the universe. But so it took me, it grabbed me by the short and curlies.
Right.
And I was along for the ride.
Sure. Andy, what about you? Where are you at?
Loved it.
I can always count on you for like the succinct yes.
You are stoic as hell. I do dig it.
Yeah, I'd seen the trailers and I kind of had an idea what was coming at me, and it slow burned right into what I was hoping for. So.
Yeah. If this was a D6 Star Wars game, you would be a laconic scout.
Yes. Oh, well, let me tell you, subversion was the biggest one for me, and I think that's why I made it one of my talking points was like, were you subverted in this episode? Because it's such a pervasive thing throughout the whole series. And like I said, right from the beginning, sitcom, Marvel, I don't know how that's going to work. And then that first episode kept me guessing from the beginning to the end. And I was that guy who was train wreck, I can't look away. It's so bizarre that I need to see this through. And boy, am I ever glad that I did.
Yeah, it's a true story.
Well, guys, over 9 episodes and I don't know how many minutes of television, we've had one of the most unique storytelling experiences of the MCU. I certainly enjoyed it. Any chance that, do you guys think we're going to get another season of this sometime down the road?
Maybe.
I
no
can
time
almost
soon,
guarantee it. It's crazy successful.
Yeah.
It depends on the fallout of, this next phase and how they want to reintegrate Vision.
That's perfect. That's a perfect framework too, Eric. It's exactly what I was going to say. If by the end of phase 4, there's dangling plot threads between Wanda and Vision, that's a great springboard for a second season to bring them back together.
Certainly, if we go full sail into the multiverse of madness, there's nothing to prevent future seasons of the Wanda and Vision show to be Wanda and Vision from another reality, and that probably done correctly, that would be suitable.
Yeah. Well, we've already seen some loose tie-ins. We've only had one episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but already we're starting to see some overlap because it looks like the both series are kind of picking up at a similar point within the MCU timeline. So be curious to see if those two shows intersect anymore or stay as they are. They probably won't, but it's good to know.
Thematically, they're already over.
Well, yeah, exactly.
In terms of these, like I had said off air earlier during one of the breaks, that they both are about soldiers after war dealing with their trauma.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah,
which plays into the pandemic. People are going to have to deal with the trauma of this
I
for a
found
while.
I don't want to get into it now because I think we might want to talk about it in more detail later. But I felt strongly that they are capitalizing on the chaos on Earth in reality with COVID-19, and they're using that feeling that we all have to mirror the feeling that the general population of the MCU has after the return. And I think that's what they're. I really got that sense where Sam kept saying, things are different now. Things are different now. And if you haven't heard anybody say things are different now,
sure.
You've probably been quarantined too long.
Yeah, I mean, like nobody anticipated being, in a state of the world as long as it has played out. And so when you talk about a television show, which is, at least a network television show where the writing is fast and fluid and it can be like, week to week, WandaVision was laid out like a year in advance, if not more. But then coronavirus came along and changed everything. Right. So that doesn't mean that things didn't change. And we know that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was actually supposed to be the first show, and it wasn't.
Yes.
They opted for WandaVision for whatever reason.
That's right.
So
it's chronological too, because WandaVision is about 3 weeks after the blip return. Yeah. And Falcon and Winter Soldier is like 8 months to a year.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this. I hope you did too. We've spent a long time, which hopefully by the time you've listened to this, it's probably going to be three-parter. As always, there is lots more to come from us here at Fandom Power as we continue our journey along all of our favorite fandoms, and hopefully some of yours too. There is always hope for more Marvel stuff as we love it. We're definitely going back to Star Wars, but don't forget we're working on some other stuff. If you want to come along with us on those rides, might be going to Eternia here pretty soon. Stay tuned to the show because we love what we're doing and we hope you do too. So that's it for me, guys. Anything else you want to close on?
We're done here.
That's good for me.
Wash your hands.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you next time. Until then,
Excelsior.
Excelsior.
Hey, guys. Thanks for listening to Fandom Power. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for our next episode where we'll be talking about another one of your favorite fandoms. Fandom Power is a Sawcast production.